as Prabhu already pointed out. So this is a very special occasion because this actually is being recognized by UNESCO as well. So this is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati is the first Vaishnava Acharya who's been recognized by UNESCO, and his appearance day is being recognized all over the world. So his appearance day was actually on Thursday, but we are celebrating it here today. So we will discuss some pastimes of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. For some devotees, it is said that they are bhuto na bhavishyati, which means that there are some devotees that you will have never seen in the past, and there will never be any of them, anyone similar in the future. And one such example is His Holiness Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Parivarikacharya Astotashata Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. So you will see why he was almost like a revolutionary. He started an era of devotional service which was never to be seen before, and it was never ever seen in the past. You will see how he was a revolutionary also. And we will see how Srila Prabhupada also essentially followed in his footsteps also. So for those of you who don't know who he is, essentially he was born in 1874 on 6th of February. And where did he appear? He appeared in Puri Dham. So essentially his father was Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Now if you don't know who they are, it might be a bit difficult for you to follow. But essentially just try to pay attention. You might catch along with the story what's going on anyways. So His Holiness Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj, he was actually a pure devotee in the line of Lord Sri Chaitanya. But actually he was in the form of a grihastha. So he was like at least externally he was like an ordinary man like us, and he was a magistrate. So the British had sent him to Puri to execute some legal work over there. Because at that time Puri was completely out of control. Like in Jagannath Puri, they were worshipping Lord Buddha they were worshipping Jagannath as Lord Buddha. And actually they even had a dog that they would worship on the altar. So they were worshipping, all kinds of weird things were going on. So things were getting out of control, the Hindus themselves were getting out of control. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was sent in that region to go and control the situation. So then it was seen that when Bhaktivinoda Thakur went there, he would constantly look at the abysmal state of the people. He would see that these people are completely, they're devoid of Bhakti Siddhanta. Now Siddhanta means technical, so knowledge. Not just knowledge, but it's the foundational knowledge is known as Siddhanta. So he found that people were essentially performing devotional service, but they had no idea what they were doing. It was almost like a ritual, or in some cases it was more like just a tradition. And they were doing all kinds of things in the name of devotion. So the Siddhanta was completely out. So then at that point, he prays to Lord Jagannath. He thinks that, how will Lord Chaitanya's mission be manifest or be promoted throughout this whole world? It's impossible. Look at the people here. And he says, I'm getting old also. Like, I don't have much time left. So how can I fulfill the mission of Lord Chaitanya? So as he was thinking at that point, like one day he slept, and in his dream, Lord Jagannath appeared. And Lord Jagannath told him that, I will send you, he said, why are you just wasting time in legal work? You need to preach the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, but I don't know how to. He said, I'm so incapacitated, I don't have any help. So then Lord Jagannath said, well, pray to Bimala Devi. Now Bimala Devi is another form of Srimati Parvati, who is essentially, she has a temple just outside of the main Jagannath Puri temple. So he said, pray to her, and if you pray to her, she may give you a benediction in the form of his son. So then Bhaktivinoda Thakur prayed to Bimala Devi, and the story behind Bimala Devi is quite interesting also. So Bimala Devi, essentially, once upon a time, Lord Vishnu was resting in his abode. And at that time, Narad Muni came to Lord Vishnu. And when Narad Muni went there, he was, very ecstatic to see the Lord, and he was he offered his obeisances, and he said, Lord, can I please have some of your prasadam? Because at that time he saw that Lakshmi Devi was feeding Lord Narayan. So then Lord Narayan said, look, I can't give you my prasadam directly, so you might have to approach one of my devotees. So then Narad Muni obviously turned to Lakshmi Devi, and he said, can you please give me some of the Lord's Mahaprasadam. So Lakshmi Devi said, yeah, here you go. So she gave him a little bit. There was only a little bit left in the plate, so he got a little bit. So Narad Muni was very ecstatic. He took that little bit of prasadam, he was dancing and singing, and he was going all the way. And as he was going, he went to this place called Kailash, where Lord Shiva is stationed. So then when he went there, he saw that, Shiva saw Narad Muni, and he said, why are you dancing? And he said that, well, I'm dancing because I received some Mahaprasadam of the Lord. So then Shiva said, how can you be so selfish? He said, give me some of that prasadam also. He said, well, there's only a little bit, like just 1 grain of rice. So he said, that's fine, I'll break that. So he broke it and he gave half to Shiva, and he took half and they ate it. And they started going into ecstasy. They were chanting and they were dancing. They were so happy, oh, we received the Mahaprasadam of the Lord. And then as that was happening, Parvati Devi came. And Parvati Devi said, why are you dancing? And they said, oh, what do we do now? So they looked at each other and they said that, well, actually we received some prasadam from, Mahaprasadam from the Lord himself. So then she said, well, where is my share? Why didn't you give me? So then at that point they say, well, there was only a little bit left, so we couldn't give you any. So she became very angry and she said that, well, I actually didn't want it for myself. I wanted to distribute that prasadam to all the jivas, because all the jivas are none other than her own children. So she said, I want to distribute the prasadam of the Lord to all the jivas. So then as she was praying thus, Lord Vishnu appeared, and Lord Vishnu said that, may your desire be fulfilled. So then he appeared in the form of Lord Jagannath on the earth, and Parvati Devi appeared in the form of Bimla Devi. So then when, so this is one, so essentially what happens in Jagannath temple is that whenever prasadam is offered to the Lord, then the prasadam is offered to Bimla Devi, and then it's offered to everyone. So it becomes Maha Prasadam, like that. So essentially Bimla Prasad is distributed all throughout Jagannath Puri. But there was another way that Bimla Prasad was distributed, and that was through the son of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, because Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur prayed to Bimla Devi, and then as form of prasad or as form of mercy, he received this small boy. And when Bhaktisiddhanta received this boy, he became very happy that, I prayed to Bimla Devi and then she gave me a son. And this son was known as Bimla Prasad. So he named the son as Bimla Prasad. So this Bimla Prasad was very exalted, they got his horoscope down as soon as he was born, and he showed the signs of a very elevated personality. Even the horoscope, the person who was making the horoscope, he said that, there has never been a man who has existed like him before, and there will never be a man who exists like him in the future. This man is a very special man that has been born in your house. So Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur became very happy that, okay, that's good. So Lord Jagannath has reciprocated with me, and he's given me a child who was going to help me in the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then after some time, essentially when the child was like 6 months old, at that time it was the time for his grain ceremony also. So they start feeding him grains. So then at that time the Rath Yatra of Lord Jagannath was happening. And when the Rath Yatra was happening, essentially what happened was they don't take children out of house for the first few months or so. So Bimala Prasad had not been to take Jagannath's darshan. So then when the Rath Yatra was happening, it so happened that the Rath of Lord Jagannath, it literally just got stuck in front of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's house. So when it got stuck there, they tried pulling it for 3 days and 3 nights, and the Rath would not move at all. So it was just completely stuck in that one place. So then at that point, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, because he was the magistrate, he took advantage of that, and then he took his son, all the way up to the place where Lord Jagannath was there on the car. And the son essentially touched the feet of the Lord with his hands. And as soon as he touched the feet of the Lord, there was a garland of Lord Jagannath that fell on top of that little boy. So that was an indication that this boy was a special boy. And essentially after that, the boy's grain ceremony was also conducted with the same prasadam of Lord Jagannath from that Rath Yatra itself. So essentially you can see that and then they also had this ceremony, like nowadays they do it for kids also. Like they put a Bhagavatam, they put money, they put something, they put 5 or 6 different items. One for Kshatriya, one for Brahmana, one for a devotee, etc. They put all of these things in front of the child, and then they see which one the child is going to grab. And that will essentially, apparently, that predicts the character of the child. And the child unhesitatingly, Bimla Prasad, unhesitatingly went and he grabbed Srimad Bhagavatam. So that was also another sign that this child was going to be very special. So then as the child was growing up, essentially when he was around 4 years old, there was a very extraordinary incident that happened. One day he was very hungry, so he went to his kitchen and he took a mango and he started eating that mango. So then his father Bhaktisiddhanta came and he saw that this boy is eating a mango. And then he scolded that boy. He said that, you should not eat a mango before it has been offered to the Lord. So first the mango should be offered to Krishna and then you should eat it. You should eat prasadam only. So then the boy became extremely sorrowful. He said that I am a great offender at the feet of the Lord. So he said that from now on I vow that I will never eat mangoes in my entire life. So he made a vow at that point. Now you can imagine, for Westerners maybe it's not such a huge deal, but for Indians to give up mangoes, it's like literally parting away with their lives. Because Indians are very much addicted to mangoes. So it was a huge, you could say it was a Bhishma Pratigya that he took at that time. And even later, like when Bhaktisiddhanta became a sannyasi, at that time some of his disciples would offer him a mango. And he would reject the mango and he would say that I'm an offender at the feet of the Lord, so I cannot accept that mango. So he remembered this throughout his life and he practiced that. So at 4 years old this incident happened. And then when Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he chastised him, he actually also gave him a Shaligram Shila of Kurma. And he initiated him into the worship of this Shaligram Shila. So this boy from 4 years old, he was worshipping Shaligram Shila with the appropriate mantras and with the appropriate rules of the Pancharatra system. By the age of 7, when he became 7 years old, he had completely memorized all the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, but not just memorized the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, he also knew the commentary on all of these statements of Bhagavad Gita. And this boy was very special. He was very special. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur had 13 children and Bimala Prasad was 6th of them. And essentially this boy never looked at Bhaktivinoda Thakur as his father. He never said Papa or he never said Baba. Although all the other children would call him Baba, his name was Bimala Prasad. Bimala Prasad called his father Thakur Mahashay. Thakur Mahashay essentially means that Bimala Prasad recognized that his father was also a very great spiritual personality. So he never got trapped into this feeling or sentiment of family, you could say. He was very much in the right conception. He could see who his father was for real. In fact, there's an incident that happened that once upon a time so Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had accepted a guru, and this guru was a caste Goswami. So he was essentially he was a Brahmana by birth and he was coming in the lineage of Nityananda Prabhu. So he had accepted this guy, but this guy was a complete rascal guy. Even though he was a guru, he was not a bona fide guru. He was very proud of his own birth because he was born in a Brahmin family. So one day he came to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house and they had some discussion, and as he was leaving, Bhaktivinoda Thakur bowed down in front of him to offer his obeisances, and this guru essentially put his foot on Bhaktivinoda Thakur's head to say that, I bless you, like that. So then Bimala Prasad, who was seeing all of this, he got very angry. And he went to this man and he said, hey rascal, do you know who you are? And do you know who this is? This is not some ordinary person. This is not your disciple. He has come directly from the spiritual world. You have no authority to put your foot on this person who is none other than... He actually revealed the form of Bhakti Vinod Thakur at that time. He said that this personality is none other than Kamala Manjari in the spiritual world. And you think you have the audacity to put your foot on this personality's head. Oh my God, that guru got so annoyed. He went up to Bhaktivinoda Thakur and he's like, your son is a complete rascal. How dare he speak to me like this? Does he not know that I am your guru? And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur calmed him down. Okay, that's fine. Don't worry. He's just very young. Just forgive him, etc., etc. And then that Das Goswami went away. So then Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he hugged Bhaktisiddhanta and he said, at least you recognize me for who I am. So at least this was a pastime which was mentioned. So Bhaktisiddhanta or Bimala Prasad, from his youth, he knew who his father was. And he never referred to his father as I said Baba. He always referred to him as Thakur Mahashay, which was quite interesting. No normal, at least normal people don't really do that. Then another incident happened was when Bimala Prasad was around 12 years old. At this time they were traveling around, they went to Mayapur. And when they were going to Mayapur, they came across this one temple. And it was late at night, so they had to sleep in that temple at night. So the villagers became scared. They said that, they're sleeping in this temple, but we don't know what's going to happen. So the next day, all the villagers came and they asked Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they said, well, could you sleep well? And he said, yeah, we slept well. And they said that the reason we were worried is because there's a ghost which haunts this temple. He said, well, no one bothered me. They said this temple is actually a so the Bhaktivinoda Thakur said maybe he didn't come near us because we were chanting Hare Krishna. So that's why the ghost maybe didn't come near us. So then the priests say that no, actually this ghost was a Brahma Rakshasa. So Brahma Rakshasa is a person who is a Brahmana in their previous life, and then because they've committed some kind of gross sin or offense, they're forced to take birth in the form of a ghost. Not birth, essentially. They're moving around in the form of a ghost. So these people, the ghosts will chant Hare Krishna. Like if you chant Hare Krishna in front of them, they will also chant Hare Krishna with you. So they don't have any objection to chanting Hare Krishna. So the villagers said that, we chant Hare Krishna, but this Brahma Rakshasa, he never goes away. So how is it that when you chanted, that this ghost actually went away? So then at that point, Bhaktisiddhanta, so he is 7-year-old boy, 12-year-old boy this time. So 12-year-old boy, he said that this priest who was chanting here and this priest who was a Brahma Rakshasa here, he was actually a great offender. So he said that just because someone is taking the name of Krishna, just because someone is uttering the words Krishna, doesn't mean that they're taking the name of Krishna. I'll repeat that. He said just because someone is uttering the word Krishna, doesn't mean that they're taking the name of Krishna. He said if a person does not have association of good devotees or does not have the association of a proper guru, whatever he takes is actually just words. He's just making some sound. He's not actually taking the name of Krishna. And actually this was shown in Bhaktisiddhanta's life later on when he became a sannyasi. At that time, once upon a time, he was giving a lecture. And he was giving a lecture on the Bhagavad Gita and from the Upanishad. So he was just explaining how we are not the body and we are the soul. He was explaining very basic topics. And at that time there was one devotee who was very proud of himself and he was standing there and he was just chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Now I know some people have a habit that when lecture is going on then also they like to chant Hare Krishna. So Bhaktisiddhanta, he got very annoyed at this person and he said, can you stop making this noise? Now that person got annoyed also. He said, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I'm not making noise. How dare you tell me I'm making noise? You're the person making noise. So you can see like at that point, many people don't understand that this is Bhaktisiddhanta. It said that Bhaktisiddhanta, his own guru, who was Gaurakishore Das Babaji, he calls Bhaktisiddhanta as Harinama Murti. Harinam Murti means he is the personal representation of Harinam because that's how well he chanted Harinam. So he said that this person is the embodiment of Harinam. And that rascal person was calling Bhaktisiddhanta, he was calling him an offender. He was saying, you're making noise. So you can see like, there may be great personalities between us or among us, but we may not be able to recognize them. And well, you might ask, how do we recognize great personalities then? Because what symptoms should we see? So that will be explained later on in the class, when we look at the teachings of Bhaktisiddhanta. Because he teaches us how to recognize great personalities also. So then when as Bimala Prasad was getting older, his father Bhaktivinoda Thakur thought that he should get some material education also. He should become like a very scholarly person because I want to preach to the scholarly people. So then he started teaching Bhaktisiddhanta. He started teaching Bimala Prasad all the scriptures, but at the same time he was going to school and learning lots of mundane stuff also, like mathematics, science and all of these things. He was learning all of these things. But he didn't have any interest in learning all of that. So when the class would be happening, he would put down Narottam Das Thakur's Prarthana and he would just under the bench and he would literally, in spare time, he would just read that. He had no interest in studying. But he was still very smart. He could still grasp everything and whenever they would give exams, he would always clear all of his exams. So he was very smart in that sense. At the age of 15, he also did another miracle, which again was a sign that he's a great personality. He wrote 2 big treatises in Sanskrit. One of them was called Siddhanta Shiromani and the other one was Surya Siddhanta. So these are expert Jyotisha texts that people refer to even nowadays. So he described the precise position of the various planets, the various stars, the movement of the earth, etc. So it's an astronomical treatise. It's a very huge astronomical treatise. And he compiled 2 of them at the age of 15. And his teachers who were teaching him Jyotisha, they were themselves struck because they were thinking, we didn't teach him all of these things. How does this child know all of this? So Bhaktisiddhanta used to go to, or Bimala Prasad used to go to lots of libraries and you read a book once, and when you read the book once, he would grasp it, and he would never have to come back to that book again. He would remember all the contents of that book. Then he would move on to the next one. So like that, he read entire libraries, and that's how he was able to compile these two huge magnum opuses, you could say, or magnum opus, if that's the plural, at the age of 15. So when he compiled all of these, his two acharyas, actually his acharyas' names were Mahesha Chandra Chudamani and Pandit Sundarlal. They actually named him Siddhanta Saraswati at that time. So when he was 15 years old, he was given the name Siddhanta Saraswati. So no one called him Bimala Prasad after that. After that, he was Siddhanta Saraswati. Saraswati means he is very expert in knowledge, and Siddhanta means he was expert in the philosophical understanding of, or the philosophical basis of all of these things. So then he pretty much studied a few more things after that. He studied Sanskrit, and then he studied proper Sandhi, etc. He studied lots of things. And there are many different pastimes how he interacted with his teachers, but generally he didn't really like any of his teachers because his teachers were atheistic as well. So he didn't really spend too much time with them either, and he eventually rejected all of his teachers also. So then after some time he realized that, as he's growing older, he needs to earn some money. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur tells him to go and serve the king of Tripura at that time. So he was living in Jagannath Puri, Bengal region, but he was asked to go and serve the king of Tripura. So he would go to the king of Tripura and he would teach the king Sanskrit. He would make the entire lineage and etc. So he pretty much did a lot of service for the king of Tripura. But then afterwards he saw that the kings themselves are fighting, the princes are fighting amongst each other, and he said that I can't propagate Bhagavad Bhakti. So he decided that I'll quit this job. So he quit that job, and then after that he went and started serving Bhaktivinoda Thakur full time after that. So then it's described that he observed Chaturmasya. Now, I don't know how many of you know what is Chaturmasya, but in every year there are 4 months where essentially there are many rules and regulations that are meant to be followed for a person who can, and it's described that a person who can follow these rules and regulations obtains great benefit. So it can either be spiritual benefit or even material benefit. So Siddhanta Saraswati followed Chaturmasya very, very strictly. He would live in a little hut, and in this hut he would literally just eat one handful of rice. Whatever handful he could get, he would take that rice and he would boil that and he would eat that. And the way he would eat it is not he would take it with his hands like that. He would actually fold his hands at the back and then he would eat with his mouth. So whatever came in one bite, he would just eat that. That's it. And that's all he was eating for once a day. That's all he was eating once a day. And the remaining time he would spend chanting. And at that time, he grew a huge beard and he grew a huge... he became very disheveled. His hair became quite big as well. And then he was wearing a green chadar, it's described. Because green apparently is the representation of Vipralama, or separation from the Lord. So he was wearing a green shawl and he was meditating on Lord Krishna at that time. So then after some time, his guru, his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, told him that it's time for him to get initiated. So he said that, I can give you initiation, but I don't want to give you initiation because a father should technically not be the guru of the son. So he said you should take initiation from this other person who is known as Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. Now Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was essentially not even a renunciant, he is known as a Paramahansa. A Paramahansa is a person who has no regard, we were discussing in Bhagavatam class also. A Paramahansa is a person who has no regard for society. This kind of person, essentially they don't realize if they're wearing clothes, they're not wearing clothes. They're just so engrossed in the chanting of the holy name that they are completely oblivious to the entire external world. So Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was such a person. He was completely oblivious to the outside world and he was just chanting Hare Krishna. So Siddhanta Saraswati approached him and he said, can you please give me initiation? He said that I don't want to give initiation to anyone. He said that once upon a time I had one disciple, but that disciple cheated me and he ran away. So I don't want to give initiation to anyone. He said, no, I will only take initiation from you. So he said, okay, fine, I will ask Lord Chaitanya and I will ask Radharani, and if they give permission, I will give you initiation. So Siddhanta Saraswati went, he came back the next day. He said, did you ask Radharani and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He said, no, I forgot, sorry, I'll ask next time, come back again. So he went back, came back again, he said, did you ask? He said, no, sorry, I forgot. Because he was actually trying to just postpone it. He didn't want to give initiation. So as he was doing that, Siddhanta Saraswati had tears in his eyes. And he said that if you don't give me initiation, I will commit suicide. And in my next birth, I will try to take initiation from you. Maybe you don't like this current body of mine, so maybe I will commit suicide and come back, and then you can give me initiation. So then God Kishore Das Babaji, he became impressed, and he said that, okay, now this is the quality of a good disciple. He said, okay, I will give you initiation, but after this, I will not consider giving too many more initiations. So he gave initiation to Bhaktisiddhanta or Siddhanta Saraswati. And you should see the level of respect that they both had for each other actually. So God Kishore Das Babaji, he gave Siddhanta Saraswati 3 orders. He said that there are 3 instructions that I'm giving you, and you should follow these at all costs. What are those 3 instructions? He said, firstly, you should not have any disciples. Secondly, you should not associate with anyone. Thirdly, you should never go to Mayanagari, which is Calcutta. You should always remain in Mayapur. Now, if you look at the life of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, it appears that he broke all 3 of them. So, he was asked not to take disciples, but he had so many disciples. He was asked not to associate with people, but he was associating with even Britishers. And he was asked not to go to Calcutta, but he opened his first Gaudiya Math in Calcutta. So then people questioned, like, is he really following his spiritual master? So someone asked him, are you really following your spiritual master? And he said, yes, of course. He said, I'm always following my spiritual master. My spiritual master is my life and soul. He said, when my spiritual master said, don't take disciples, what he meant was, you should never be proud of having disciples. He said that all my disciples actually come to serve me, but I look at them as my masters. So I never think that I am the spiritual master of these people. I always think that I am the servant of these people. So he would always say Daswasmi to his disciples. Now, show me a guru in this modern world who will address his disciples as Daswasmi, or who would say that, I am your servant. It's very rare to find a person like this, or a guru like this, who thinks that he is a servant of his disciples. But because this was an instruction he received, he took it to heart. He didn't make any disciples as such. The second thing was, he was asked not to take any association of people. But he was taking association of everyone. Or it appeared that he was taking association of all kinds of people. So then he explained this as he said that when my Guru Maharaj said that don't take association of anyone, he meant that you should not take their ideas. You should not, so when we associate with someone, we take their ideas. Like for example, let's say you associate with some drunkards or with people who take drugs. You eventually adopt their ideas and you start doing drugs and you start drinking alcohol also. That is what is meant by taking association. But Siddhanta Saraswati, he never took association, because wherever he went, he preached, he gave them Krishna Bhakti. He didn't take their ideas, their worldly ideas of sense gratification or anything like that. He essentially gave them whatever he had to give. So essentially, in that sense, he never took association also. Then the third instruction was interesting. He was asked never to go to Calcutta or Mayanagari. So, but he built his first Gaudiya Math in Calcutta. So, how do we understand that? So, when he was asked this, he said that yes, I never go to Calcutta. I go to Gaudiya Math, which is actually Vaikuntha within that Mayanagari. So, he said because in the Math, we are worshipping Lord Krishna, we are worshipping the deities. So, he said that that is nothing else but Vaikuntha. So, I am not going into Mayanagari. And his Guru Maharaj knew about all of his activities and he didn't say anything. In fact, his Guru Maharaj used to call him Prabhu. Yeah, he would say that one day he saw Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Siddhanta Saraswati coming towards him. And God Kishore Das Babaji said, what I see is I see Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda Prabhu coming towards me. He says, I can see that these are 2 very divine personalities that are coming towards me. Yeah, so he would refer to him as Prabhu. So it's not that God Kishore Das Babaji thought that he was disobeying his instructions. He thought that Siddhanta Saraswati understood the essence of the instructions, which is again a very important thing to understand. Yeah. So then after that, Siddhanta Saraswati, he realized that if he wants to preach strongly and in this entire world, he needs to have some more spiritual power. So at this point, he decided to take a vow. He took a vow of, which is known as the Shatakoti Nama Yajna. Shatakoti Nama Yajna means he decided to chant 1 billion names of the Lord. 1 billion names of the Lord, if he was meant to do this over a span of 9 years, he was chanting 3 lakh names of the Lord, which amounts to around 192 rounds of Hare Krishna. Now we struggle to do 16 rounds, but he was chanting 192 rounds every day. And it's not that he was just chanting. At this time, he was also managing the construction of Gaudiya Math. He was also writing his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. He was writing commentaries on Bhakti Vinod Thakur's work. He was getting all these things published also. And at the same time, he was chanting 192 rounds. Now at this time, he didn't have time for eating. He didn't have time for cooking. So he essentially got one of his disciples to cook for him. And he would eat, literally again, just a handful of rice. That's it. He would not take anything. He liked hing, so he would put hing in the rice and he would just eat that rice. That's it. That's all he ate for 9 years. Now, show me a person who can do that. Now, interestingly enough, when I was in Mayapur, there was a person who came to me and he said that there's a certain guru who went to the West. He broadcasted Hinduism, but this person used to eat meat. He had a habit of eating beef also. And he apologized. And he said that, that person is a good person. He just had a very small bad habit of eating beef. I said, man, your standard of understanding spiritual personalities is very low. If you think that a person can eat beef and that's a small mistake, you have not looked at the character of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati. You have no idea about how great some of our acharyas are. Like this acharya, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, was Sakshat Vairagya Murte. He would only eat a handful of rice for 9 years. And it's not that he was craving anything else. He sustained himself on that. And he was deriving all of his spiritual strength from that prasadam. So this is the caliber of our acharyas. That's why it said, again I'll keep repeating this again and again just so that you can understand. Na bhuto na bhavishyati. There was never a person like him. There will never ever be a person like him in the future. So when he was doing all of this and when he, after 9 years, when he completed the construction of Gaudiya Math, etc., then at that time he started to preach full on. Now his preaching methods were quite interesting. They were quite revolutionary as well. Like no one would have thought how he was preaching. So in the very first Gaudiya Math that he had constructed, essentially what happened was when they had constructed, they had a roller, like roller in India, they have the roller, not roller, but like the metal rollers that you can pull down to lock the shops, etc. So they had one of this in front of the Gaudiya Math. So when they were just about to do the inauguration of the Gaudiya Math, and essentially what happened was that roller essentially just fell with great speed. And if it had happened 2 or 3 seconds ago, Bhaktisiddhanta's head would have been crushed. But he had just moved to the side and the roller just fell down on the ground. So then one of his disciples, he asked him that, this is a very inauspicious sign, isn't it? Like, it looks like something inauspicious is going to happen now that the shutter has almost tried to kill you. So he said that yes, he said that is actually a very great opportunity of glory for me, he said. He said, I'm very happy. He said, what this means is this is a sign that I'm going to have lots of obstructions in my preaching. And he said, I'm really looking forward to embracing all of these obstructions in preaching. He said that the path of a preacher, especially of a preacher who preaches the truth, is one of thorns. It's never easy because people don't like to hear the real message. People like to hear something which is concocted. People like to hear something that gratifies their own senses. People don't like to hear the truth. And Bhaktisiddhanta said that because now I am embarking on a mission of just spreading the truth, it is quite normal that I'm going to have lots of objections and lot of people opposing me. And he says, I'm looking forward to that. Yes, because this is a chance that I will be able to please Krishna completely. So, as he was completely preaching, he preached very strongly against the Mayavadis. Now, for those of you who are new and you don't know who Mayavadis are the followers of Shankaracharya, or those who preach that the Jiva and the Paramatma, they are all one. Or they preach that the Guru and Krishna are one. They preach that also. Why? Because they are the Guru. So they will say that I am same as Krishna or I am the same as the Lord. So worship me just like God. Like in fact there is one certain so-called Vaishnava Sampradaya that exists even today. And they, like over here you can see we have the Lord in the center and then we have Srila Prabhupada to the side. And Srila Prabhupada is essentially seated on a lower platform than the Lord. There is one so-called Vaishnava Sampradaya where they put their Guru in the middle and they put the Lord on the side and they put him on a lower pedestal. Now this is nothing but complete Mayavad actually. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada pointed that out. That there will be many Mayavadi sannyasis. There will be many Mayavadi people. And Bhaktisiddhanta was strongly opposed to them. The other kind of people that Bhaktisiddhanta was very much opposed to was the Sahajiyas. Now Sahajiyas may be a new word for you, but Sahajiya essentially is a person who chants the name of Hare Krishna, but at the same time he engages in all kinds of sense gratification. So these kinds of person will smoke, they will drink alcohol, they will have illicit relationships with men, women, etc. And then they will also chant Hare Krishna. So Siddhanta Saraswati was very, very much against them. In fact, there was one preacher whose name was Charan Das Babaji at that time. He was very popular. In fact, he had even created his own mantra. You will hear, actually it's very unfortunate, but I was hearing in one Kirtan Mela, which happened in ISKCON, and they were chanting this mantra which was created by this Charan Das Babaji. The mantra that this guy created was Nitai Gaur Radhe Sham, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. He just created this mantra out of thin air. This mantra doesn't really exist in scripture. So Siddhanta Saraswati was very angry at this person, and he would openly preach against this person by taking his name. In fact, so much so that what he would do is, like, when he would see that people are going to attend this Charan Das Babaji's lectures, he would catch them by the collar and say, why are you wasting your life? Don't go there, don't go there. And then obviously people would get annoyed, they would beat him, they would punch him, and they would slap him. But he just could not see that people are being misled, or they are going into a cliff and they're falling down off that cliff. He just could not see that. So that's why out of desperation he would go and, like, tell people, don't go there, etc. So this Charan Das Babaji, he got very angry at Siddhanta Saraswati, and he tried to kill him on multiple occasions also. There is the incident that Siddhanta Saraswati was once taking a Rath Yatra with his disciples, and at that time this Charan Das Babaji, he had bribed the police, and after bribing the police, they tried to kill Siddhanta Saraswati. But one of Siddhanta Saraswati's disciples, whose name was Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj, he knew that there was something fishy going on. So he actually swapped his clothes with Siddhanta Saraswati, so that if someone is meant to be killed, the disciple will be killed and the guru will continue his preaching work. So essentially then the thugs came, they tried to kill Siddhanta Saraswati, but they found that this was Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj. And in the meantime, he had escaped. So Siddhanta Saraswati was very happy. He was saying that not only do I have lion-like disciples, he said that not only am I preaching like a lion, my disciples are also like lions. So he was very happy. And he also said that a lion does not give birth to rabbits. He said a lion always gives birth to a lion. So he was very happy at how brave and how bold his disciples were, that they were willing to sacrifice their life to protect their guru. So then Siddhanta Saraswati became even more enthusiastic, and he started preaching more and more against these people. He started publishing magazines, he started publishing books by trying to essentially destroy these people's philosophy. So one of the mantras that we had read was Namo Bhakti Siddhanta Rupanuga Viruddha Appasiddhanta. So Bhaktisiddhanta was someone who was very much against Appasiddhanta. Appasiddhanta means that so Siddhanta is the proper philosophical understanding by which we can understand Krishna. Appasiddhanta is the opposite of that. So it's the wrong philosophy which essentially leads one to more and more delusion, by which one gets more deluded, or by which one gets more entrapped into material consciousness. So Siddhanta Saraswati was very much against Appasiddhanta. His whole life was dedicated to preaching against Appasiddhanta. It's described that his preaching method was almost like cutting with a sword. Every time he would encounter something which was slightly against the proper philosophical understanding, he would cut that person down. Not literally, but like he would destroy that person's philosophy. He would give a lecture for like 5 hours. Like there's one incident where once in his Gaudiya Math, there was one person who had come. So Siddhanta Saraswati was chanting late at 11:30 at night. At that time, one person came to the mat. So Siddhanta Saraswati didn't have his glasses, so he couldn't see. So he was asking, who's there? And then this person was like, I am there, it's me. So then Siddhanta Saraswati asked, who you? Is it the body or the soul? So then that person didn't know what to say. Then, full on lecture for 2 hours. 11:30 to 1:30 at night. Full on he gave a lecture, explaining how we should understand that we are not the body, that we are the soul, etc. Like completely like. This was Siddhanta Saraswati. He could not tolerate any wrong, he could not tolerate Appasiddhanta at all. So this was the glorious method of preaching of Siddhanta Saraswati. So then what happened was, as he was preaching more and more, his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was becoming very old and he was about to leave his body. So he called his son and he said that, you should come back. He said, I don't want to live with my other relatives. Like no one understands my spiritual nature and I really want to spend time in Mayapur. I want to spend time with you. So Siddhanta Saraswati, as he was going back, somehow or the other, his train got delayed, there was monsoon, etc. So everything got caught. So he couldn't reach there in time. So when he had reached there, he found that his father had passed away and that his brothers had already cremated his father. He became very sad at that because in Vedic culture, a Paramahansa is not meant to be cremated. A Paramahansa is always buried under the ground. So he became very disappointed. He said that these people, my whole family, including my mother, no one could recognize that my father was an elevated spiritual personality. They only saw him as father or they only saw him as a husband. They couldn't understand that he was directly descended from the spiritual world. So he became sad. And then shortly afterwards, his guru, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, he also was becoming very sick and he also passed away. Now the passing away of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was very eventful because everyone knew that he was a very elevated personality. Lots of people in Bengal, they wanted to take the body of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji and put it in, and they wanted to make a samadhi because they knew that people will come and visit the samadhi and they will get a lot of money. So a lot of people were interested in taking his body. So Siddhanta Saraswati, along with one of his disciples, he became very angry and he went to the place where Gaur Kishore Das Babaji's body was there. And he essentially took, there was police there because people were fighting. So Siddhanta Saraswati went there and boldly declared, he said that none of you are worthy of touching a Paramahansa's body. They started fighting. They're like, what gives you the right to touch Gaur Kishore Das Babaji's body? He said that, okay, I will tell you who can touch Gaur Kishore Das Babaji's body. The only person who can touch Gaur Kishore Das Babaji's body is a person who has not thought about a woman in the last year. Not even last year, he said last 3 months. Not even last 3 months, last 3 weeks. Not even last 3 weeks, last 3 days. He says if there is any person who has not even thought about a woman for the last 3 days, that person can touch Siddhanta Saraswati's body. And it was surprising. The police said, how will you find out that whether or not these people are speaking the truth? He said, I will take their word for it. Because if they lie to me, they will immediately become destroyed in front of everyone's eyes. So then, it was so surprising. The scene over there was completely, everyone was dumbstruck, everyone was silent. And all the Babajis that were there, like in the dress of sannyasis, they all left. That means you can see that these people have, even though they were in the dress of sannyasis, they were thinking about women, they were thinking about sense gratification, sense enjoyment and things like that. Which was the thing that Bhaktisiddhanta was completely opposed to, or Siddhanta Saraswati was completely opposed to. So then after that, he took the body of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji and he established a samadhi for his guru. And he did it through the agency of 2 of his disciples. And interestingly enough, what happened was the 2 disciples, they saw that, so many people are coming and so many people are giving money. So slowly what the disciples did was they rejected Bhaktisiddhanta and they would not let their own guru to come and visit the samadhi of his own guru. So then Bhaktisiddhanta became very disappointed and he had tears in his eyes and he went away. And then it's described that slowly, because they had committed an offense at the lotus feet of Siddhanta Saraswati, eventually they got framed in some kind of murder, both the brothers, and they were both thrown into jail. And then Bhaktisiddhanta reclaimed that samadhi for himself. So another lesson to learn from here is that if you offend a great devotee or if you offend the great devotees, the consequences are not good. The consequences are very grim, as it is seen from the life of Siddhanta Saraswati. So one must be very careful not to offend the pure devotees of the Lord. So after his spiritual master passed away, Siddhanta Saraswati became very depressed. He said that, the only 2 people who could chastise me, or the only 2 people who could criticize me, the only 2 people who could correct me, they are gone. Now what will I do with my life? He said, who will read all of my writings? Who will guide me on the spiritual path? He became very depressed and he went into a room and he was just crying. For 3 days and 3 nights he did not come out. All the disciples were very worried because he was not eating, not drinking anything, and he was very depressed that 2 great personalities had left this earth. So he was very, very depressed. So then it's described that at that time in a dream-like vision, it's almost a dream-like vision, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityanand Prabhu, all the associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, including Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Narottam Das Thakur and Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, all of these devotees appeared in front of Siddhanta Saraswati, and they said that you have to continue preaching. You cannot stop preaching. And whatever strength, whatever inspiration you need, you will get that from us. So continue your work, continue. So you could say that is motivational speaking. So these people were the original motivation. So the original motivational speaker is none other than Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was motivating Siddhanta Saraswati to continue. Then Siddhanta Saraswati understood that, okay, now it is time for me to take sannyas. He said, I cannot travel around like this in the dress of a white man, like a grihastha. I need to take sannyas. So he meditated, and then, but the problem was he could not find anyone suitable to take sannyas from. So he sat in front of a picture of his guru, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, and he took sannyas. He accepted Tridanda, he shaved his head, and he was traveling all around the world. His disciples became very sad, and all his well-wishers became very sad, because no one likes it when someone takes sannyas, because it means that the person is essentially cutting off all their ties with everyone. Then Siddhanta Saraswati fiercely started preaching the message of Krishna consciousness. He would travel around to different places. He even traveled, in fact it's described that once there was one person who was a Jyotish, and this Jyotish was teaching in the Banaras Hindu University. And this Jyotish actually was one of the professors of Siddhanta Saraswati when he was studying. But what had happened was, with time, he became influenced by the Western philosophy. So he was not preaching pure Jyotish Shastra. He was preaching Jyotisha which was mixed with Western astronomy. So the people who were there were very distressed. His disciples, Siddhanta Saraswati's disciples, were very distressed, and they said that, it's not good because he is distorting the Vedic scriptures. So he should not be allowed to continue like this. So please, can you go and have a debate with him? So Siddhanta Saraswati said, okay, fine, I will go and debate with him. So they had a 3-day debate, and the debate was orchestrated by the principal of the whole college. It's described that for 3 days, Siddhanta Saraswati spoke like a lion. He was roaring like a lion, and he would destroy completely the arguments of his own his own teacher, you could say. It said that he destroyed his arguments so much, and the person, his guru, got so humiliated that he actually passed stool and urine in front of everyone in the assembly. This is how fiercely Siddhanta Saraswati would preach. So his preaching tactics were very, very strong. And then one day what happened was, there was a king also, king of Orissa, who had invited Siddhanta Saraswati to debate with other Vaishnava preachers about what is real Vaishnava Siddhanta. So then Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati. So actually after taking sannyas, then he got the name Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati. Before that he was known as Siddhanta Sarasvati. So then when he became Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, so then at that time it's described that when the king invited him for essentially a debate, his personality was so commanding that even though there were such respectable people throughout the assembly, he would always go and speak first, and no one would say anything about it. And the other thing was, when he would speak for so long that he wouldn't give time for the others to speak. So then the people got very annoyed, and they again tried to kill him. In fact, so much so that Siddhanta Saraswati had a big hernia in his abdomen. And he would not even get that hernia repaired. So when his disciples asked him, why don't you want to get the hernia repaired? He said that I don't want to get it repaired because I think that the doctor will try to kill me. Because these people, I've made so many enemies that now these people will try to kill me. So then when Siddhanta Saraswati was getting old, he was looking for someone who will succeed him. So because he knew that his end was coming also. So he was looking for someone who will succeed him. And he was speaking to all of his disciples, and one day as he was traveling in a car, he told one of his disciples, he said that you have to commit suicide. You have to kill yourself. Then the disciple, as he was driving the car, he immediately stopped the car. They were driving on a hill. And he said that, you have to jump off the cliff and give up your life. So then the disciple, as he was driving, he went and stopped the car. He fell at the feet of his spiritual master, and he said, how would you like me to commit suicide? Which side would you like me to jump? East or west? So then Siddhanta Saraswati became very pleased, and he said that you are a true disciple. And he said that you are the only one who is worthy of succeeding me. So then he made this person in charge of his Matha. Bhaktisiddhanta was a revolutionary. There was once one important man. I think it was Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. So he was a very prominent man at that time. And he visited one of Siddhanta Saraswati's Gaudiya Mutt. And when he visited this mutt, he noticed something very unusual. So it was Mangalarti time. And during Mangalarti time, when the curtains were removed, instead of seeing deities of Krishna and Gauranga, they saw a typewriter. There was literally a typewriter instead of the deities. Now people, the newcomers who came, they were laughing. They're like, what is this? You're putting a typewriter there? He said that, yeah, you actually don't have any spiritual vision. You don't understand that this typewriter is the direct personification of service to Krishna. Because this typewriter is used to print Krishna's books and distribute his books everywhere. So he said that this typewriter is, if not as worshipable, more worshipable than Krishna himself. Because this typewriter is even more merciful than Krishna or Gauranga. So he was a revolutionary. Nowhere in the history of Sanatana Dharma or even any Western religion you will find that a typewriter has been put in the altar. So he was a revolutionary. He had some ideas that no one else could understand what was going on. So then when he was about to leave his body, it's described that for 8 days and 8 nights he had fever. So he became bedridden. And when he became bedridden, the only song he wanted to hear was Shri Rupa Manjari Pada. And when he wanted to hear this, he invited Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj to come and recite this song. Then at that time, the devotee suggested that Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he doesn't know music very well. He can't sing nicely. So we'll get another sannyasi's name was Paramananda Das Brahmachari actually. They said we'll invite Paramananda Das Brahmachari because he's a very expert musician also. So when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is leaving his body, he can listen to nice music. Siddhanta Saraswati said, no, I don't want to listen to music. I want to hear the pure chanting of Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. So till the last moment, until he passed away, he did not succumb to any kind of sentimentalism. He was very much fierce in propagating Siddhanta and very much fierce in establishing the true principles of religion. Now the character of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is described that he was not only as harsh as a thunderbolt, but he was also as soft as a rose. Now this can only be seen, actually if you read Raghuvansha by, what's his name? Who wrote Raghuvansha? What's that person's name? That saint who wrote Raghuvansha. Is it Kalidas who wrote Raghuvansha? Yeah, I can't remember, but Raghuvansha is a very famous poem. And in Raghuvansha it's described that only the great and exalted personalities can have this kind of character where they are as hard as a thunderbolt and they are as soft as a rose. So only exalted personalities can do that. So I mean, up until now we've discussed the personality which was as hard as a thunderbolt. Kalidas, yes, it was Kalidas, that's right. So we have discussed how he was as strong as a thunderbolt, but how was he soft as a rose? Actually, it's described that one day when he was chanting again till late at night, until 11:30, he noticed that there was a man who came in. This was a newcomer who had come into the mutt and he was looking for prasadam. So Bhaktisiddhanta asked his disciples, he said, go get some prasadam for him. He's come after working so hard and he's looking for prasadam. So then the disciples said, actually all the prasadam is over, we finished it all. So then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, okay, no problem, I will cook personally. So he went and he cooked prasadam personally and he gave prasadam to this person. And he cooked at night, like at 11:30. It's described that once upon a time when he was in the matha, there was one brahmachari disciple who used to remain very angry. Like he could not really get along with the other people in the mutt. So in mutt you obviously will have lots of brahmacharis. So this brahmachari disciple, he was very angry. He had a very bad demeanor. He would get angry with everyone, very snappy, bad mood, etc. So then essentially all the god brothers, they got very annoyed. And that day was the day of Snan Yatra of the Lord, of Jagannath. So they told him to go away. They kicked him out of the mutt. So then Bhaktisiddhanta came back and he said, he was looking for the disciple. He said, where is this brahmachari disciple? And then they described, like he was getting very angry when we were preparing, doing our presentations, etc. So we kicked him out of the temple. So then Bhaktisiddhanta had tears in his eyes. And the disciples became very distraught. They said, what happened? Why are you crying? He said that I'm not very much impressed by all of this service you're doing, by decorating for Snan Yatra. He said all of this is secondary. He said that you should understand that, what is that verse? I forgot. But essentially, like, after going through the cycle of birth and death for millions and millions of births, taking so many animal births, taking so many births as a plant, and so many births as humans, it's very rare for a person to get the opportunity to do devotional service. And he said, and you kick this person out. He said, we have to give him a chance to do devotional service. I don't know when he'll get a chance otherwise. So go and find him. So then the disciples said, well, how can we find him? He said, I know he was an expert person in repairing all watches. He used to love repairing watches. Every time the watches would go off, he would go and repair them immediately. So he told his disciples, go and find all the shops where they repair watches. You might find him there. So then they went and they found him. He was actually sitting in one of the shops where watches were being repaired, and that disciple also had tears in his eyes. And when he saw his god brothers, he immediately got up and he hugged them. And he said that, I myself was so sad when I left the mutt because you guys kicked me out. But he said, I did not have the courage to come back. And he said that Siddhanta Saraswati is so merciful that he sent you guys to me so that I didn't have to go and make a show of apologizing and stuff. So Siddhanta Saraswati was so merciful that he accepted someone who is of such bad character also. Similarly, there was another brahmachari disciple again who had a very bad demeanor. I don't know what is with these brahmacharis back in the day, but yeah, this brahmachari was also like, he used to be in very bad mood and he used to like fight and stuff. So then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati told this man that you have to control your behavior, and if you don't improve your behavior, I'll have to kick you out if there's another complaint. So then literally 2 days later, the devotees came and complained that this disciple is, creating a mess again. He's yelling at people and doing all of that. So then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati went to the disciple and told him, you get out. He kicked him out. Now the disciples were shocked. They're like, 2 days ago, you told us to go and bring back this disciple because we had kicked him out. Now you're kicking this disciple out. Now this is a bit weird. So then he called the disciples and he said, actually, what I want you to do is, now go and get that disciple back. The brahmachari that I kicked out, go and bring him back. The disciples were like, oh my God, what is happening? First, you yell at us for kicking someone out, then you kick someone out, then you want us to bring him back. What is this? So they could not understand. Then Bhaktisiddhanta said, he said that actually the disciples of a guru are meant to be more merciful than the guru. He says that sometimes it is seen that, like for example, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got very angry at Kala Krishnadas. Kala Krishnadas was one of the servants of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who became attracted to a woman. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu completely rejected him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I don't want to see your face ever in this life. So then it's described that Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur, they went to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and prayed, can you please re-accept your disciple back, Kala Krishnadas. So then he accepted Kala Krishnadas back. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said the same thing, that if I ever get angry at someone, or if I ever kick someone out, it is the duty of you as disciples to go and bring that person back. Because the disciples are meant to be more merciful than the Guru himself. So he said that, you're meant to go and bring this, you're meant to go and bring all of these disciples back. So this is how he was shown to be a very soft-hearted person also. His inner mood was revealed. So when, although actually there's a nice description, one of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disciples was asked, have you ever seen Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati smile? Or have you ever seen Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati laugh? That disciple said, oh, Jai Gaura Nitai. He said, never in my life could I imagine ever seeing Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati laughing. He said he was always serious, always very grave. But at the same time, he had a heart of gold, it is said. Heart of gold. Prabhu. Yeah, so he definitely had a heart of gold. One of the important things, so there are two important teachings that I will discuss in brief that essentially define Bhaktisiddhanta. There are two things that he preached which redefined Bhakti forever. First one was called Yukta Vairagya. Now Yukta Vairagya means being detached. But Yukta Vairagya means essentially taking all of the things that are available in this material world and using them in the service of Krishna. So sannyasis at that time would say, no, I don't want money. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, being a sannyasi, would collect a lot of money. And he would use all of this money in Krishna's service. So he would not take it for his own personal gratification. but he would take it for the service of Krishna. With that money, he would build temples, he would distribute books, he would distribute prasadam, he would give shelter to other devotees, but not a single cent he would use to spend on himself. In his matha, he also had cars, very big cars at that time. He had chariots, he had an elephant, he had a horse, he had a camel, and he had 4 cars actually, not just one. He had 4 cars in his math, which was very unusual for a spiritual organization at that time to have any of these things. But he said that the reason I have all of these is so that I can preach the message of Krishna throughout this world. So he had all of these. So he essentially redefined Yukta Vairagya. So sannyasis at that time would not wear stitched cloth, but he would wear shirt, and he would even wear overcoats. Like there's a very famous picture of Bhaktisiddhanta where he's wearing a very long British overcoat. And he did that because he had to go and preach to the Britishers. He had to go and preach to the mayors. So he would preach in such a, if he goes in the dress of a sannyasi, they won't really want to speak to him. So he essentially wore an overcoat so that they would at least be willing to sit down and discuss things with him. And devotees, even till nowadays, they use this principle of Yukta Vairagya also. So this Yukta Vairagya was a very novel concept that he had introduced. The second concept that he had introduced, which was very, very powerful, and which essentially defines Bhaktisiddhanta. If there's nothing else you want to take from this lecture today, just take this point. It's kind of sad that I'm saying this at the end of the lecture when all of you are probably asleep. But still, I'm mentioning this right at the end so that at least you can be awake for some time. The concept that he discussed, which defines him, is known as Dig Drishya Vichar, which means that he defined who is seeing and who is being seen. Now what does this mean? Who is seeing and who is being seen? Imagine you come into the temple. What is the first thing you see? You see the deities. So you think, I am seeing the deities. But Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, he completely redefined this idea. He said that actually when we come into the temple, we are not the ones seeing Krishna. He said Krishna is the one seeing us. He said we don't have the eyes to see Krishna. All we are seeing is some kind of wooden form at this stage. We are not purified that we can see Krishna originally manifest in that deity form. He said as long as a person always tries to see Krishna, he says Krishna will never manifest in front of him. Because he said Krishna is not the property of sinful people. He said if you want to see Krishna, if you want to see a sadhu, you have to see Krishna and sadhu through the ears. This was very important because once Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, I gave a lecture for 1 hour and most of you are probably tired. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would give lectures for 4 hours. Sometimes 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. So his normal schedule would be from 8 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock he would give lecture. Then from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock everyone would rest. And then from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night again he would give lecture. So 8 hours of continuous lecturing. So people would get tired, they would not understand what's happening. And it's not like he would discuss Radha Krishna Katha. He would tell people, you are not the body, you are the soul, etc. He would tell, you are a servant of Krishna, you should learn how to serve Krishna. He would talk about basics. He would not go into hi-fi philosophy or anything like that. And he would speak for 8 hours in a day. So once they were in Vrindavan, and when they were in Vrindavan, our Srila Prabhupada was also there at that time. So Bhaktisiddhanta was giving katha. He was describing, again, Upanishads. He was discussing from Upanishads at that time. Slowly what happened was, one person came and announced that the temples, the Goswami temples are going to be shut, so whoever wants darshan should go and take darshan. So immediately, like more than half of the crowd that was listening to the lecture, they got up and they went and tried to take darshan of the Lord. Then at that point, Bhaktisiddhanta said, all of these people are fools. Looking at his disciples, he said, these people who think that they can take darshan of the Lord, they are fools. He said, until your eyes have been completely purified by service attitude and by getting taste for hearing about the Lord, he said, there is no chance that you can see Lord, let alone in this birth, even in millions of births. Until one gets Harinama Ruchi. Ruchi means until one gets, not only does one enjoy listening, but one looks forward to hearing about Krishna, or looks forward to hearing about Krishna, Katha, or his devotees. He said there is no possibility that a person can actually see Krishna. All they will see is something that is in their own minds, and they will essentially just go and commit sense gratification. These are his words, I'm just paraphrasing his own words. So he was very, very strict in that sense. One day it was also described that there was one professor who came to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and he said that, when you were young, at that time I used to speak Bhagavad Gita to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I used to read Bhagavad Gita to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Siddhanta Saraswati said, you never saw Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He was a bit shocked. He was like, I always saw Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I would always give him Bhagavad Gita class. You were there, you were young, and all of your brothers and sisters were there, your mother was there. He's like, you have never seen Bhaktivinoda Thakur. You have no idea who is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says, the real Bhaktivinoda Thakur does not have any sons. He does not have any wife. He is not of this world. Whoever you spoke to was not Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So now this person was completely bewildered and confused. He was like, am I hallucinating? What is happening? He said that until you can see Bhaktivinoda Thakur through the eyes of Krishna, how Krishna is seeing Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as I described, is none other than Kamala Manjari. Kamala Manjaris are the assistants of the gopis in the spiritual world. So he said that unless you see Bhaktivinoda Thakur as the gopi or Manjari, Kamala Manjari, you have not seen Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He said, he also made this statement. He said, there are some fools who consider Bhaktivinoda Thakur to be my father. He said, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur is not my father. In fact, he said that those who call Bhaktivinoda Thakur Baba, when they try to go and see Radha, they will have a Badha, he said. Which essentially in Hindi, it's a Hindi phrase, which essentially means that if you try to call Bhaktivinoda Thakur Baba, which is father, you will have Badha in seeing Radharani. Means you will have obstructions, your vision will be obstructed, you won't be able to see Radharani. So he essentially defined how to see certain things, and he defined how to see a sadhu. He said the best way to understand a sadhu is to hear his words, hear him speak. That's the only way you can recognize a sadhu, not by some cheap miracle tricks or not by seeing him cry in front of everyone when he's chanting Hare Krishna. No, it's by hearing his words, by hearing his personality. His personality, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's personality was so awe-inspiring that there was one Maharaj of Odisha at that time. This Maharaj of Odisha, he said that, everyone offers respect to Bhaktisiddhanta, but I am a king, so many people worship me. I am not going to offer respects to him. Let's see how everyone says that he's awe-inspiring. Let's see how awe-inspiring he is. So then he went to the place where Bhaktisiddhanta was meant to give a lecture, and literally as soon as he saw Bhaktisiddhanta walking on the stage, he said, I don't know how, but immediately he fell down on the ground to offer Dandavat Pranam. And he was shocked at himself. He said, I came in with the mentality that I'm not going to offer respects to him. But his personality was so awe-inspiring that as soon as I saw him, I immediately fell at his feet. So he was so ojasvi that he could essentially command the respect of everyone present in that room, present in that assembly, etc. So lastly, just to finish this Drishya Vichara, and because we're going to have Prasadam, there's a nice incident of him describing Mahaprasad also. So once what happened was, there was one donor. So there was a person who came to donate at the Gaudiya Math. And this person gave a lot of donation to Gaudiya Math. So the devotees, the Bhaktisiddhanta's disciples, they served him Prasadam. And in that Prasadam was Gulab Jamuns. So this person was eating Gulab Jamun. He very much liked Gulab Jamun, so he ate like 4 or 5. So then the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who were Ananta Vasudeva and Sundarananda Vidyavinod, they went up to him and they said, are you eating Gulab Jamuns? Or is Gulab Jamun eating you? They said that. Oh my God, this guy got so furious, this donor, he got so furious. He's like, how dare these disciples disrespect me? So he went to Bhaktisiddhanta and said, your disciples are so disrespectful. They're telling me that I've given such a huge donation, but I'm just eating prasad. I'm eating Mahaprasad. How can these people say that I'm getting eaten by Mahaprasad himself? I'm just taking prasad, and it said in scriptures that we should eat prasad. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he just smiled. And he said that, actually whatever my disciples have said, if you can understand what they have said in even 100 lifetimes, then your 100th life will be successful. He says, but I don't think you will understand any of this. So in this way, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he was very strong in terms of understanding that, he said that the real mood for having prasadam is not that I'm going to devour prasadam or I'm going to eat prasadam. Or he said the real way to have prasadam is to say that I am honored that prasadam has chosen me to make me an instrument of the service towards Lord Gauranga and Lord Jagannath. So he said that this is the mentality with which we should honor prasadam. That this prasadam has chosen me to execute some of the work of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he said this is the mood in which we should have prasadam. So this was his whole concept of drishya vichar, which means to see properly, to understand who is seeing, who is the person being seen. I mean, a lot can be said on that topic, but having said that, we've gone a little bit over time also. I will finish here. There are so many pastimes of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Now many people ask, like, is it possible that we could live with such a personality? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Now many people ask, like, is it possible that we could live with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati? Personally, I don't think I would last even 2 hours with such a personality like that. Yeah, just because his vision was very cutting. If he saw any fault in his disciples or in anyone, he would cut it straight away. So, but our own Srila Prabhupada is very, very magnanimous. So actually, if you compare Srila Prabhupada and if you compare Bhaktisiddhanta, you can say that Bhaktisiddhanta is like, he's telling you, here's the way, here's the message of Gita, follow it and come to Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada is like, here's the message of Krishna, come, let's walk together. Srila Prabhupada was very, very merciful, and he still conveyed exactly the same message as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So having said that, I will finish there. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. Does anyone have any questions, anything you want to know more about? Because the only time we really discuss about Bhaktisiddhanta is today and when he disappeared. That's all we discuss. So that's why even though we went a little bit over time, I was not very anxious. So if anyone wants to ask any question or if you want to understand a little bit more about something that was discussed, please feel free to do so today.
Also, anyone have any homage? Because if you don't, I have a small homage.
Okay. Yes, bro.
Prabhu, do you have any other literatures regarding the biography of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati so that we can prepare in our later days to understand more about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati?
Yeah, thank you. So there is so in Gaudiya Math there was a biography of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati called Saraswati Digvijay, which was written by one of Prabhupada's godbrothers. But His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami Maharaj has compiled another 3 books. They're like this big each, which is called the Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav. So he traveled all across India and Bangladesh for 20 years, and he compiled that book in 12 years. So essentially it contains all his lives and teachings, all of his major lectures transcribed, his books transcribed, and his mood and character, interviews of his disciples, etc. So there is a book. If you would like to have that book, you can let me know, and yeah, we can arrange that for you. Thank you, bro. Anything else? No? Okay, we'll have homage.
Yeah, just quickly, it won't take more than a minute. Not even. Actually, homage, those who don't know what homage is, on Tirobhav and Avirbhav, you open your heart to your Guru and you just say something. I was never planning to do this, but then I thought, okay, I have to lead from the front and maybe set an example. So some senior devotees from next time we can have. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Nityanami. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Nityanami. Dear Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, please accept my humble obeisance. All goes to you, all goes to Srila Prabhupada, and all goes to Guru and Varanga. I am taking this opportunity to thank you for giving this Krishna consciousness to the West via your disciple, dear Srila Prabhupada. If it was not your vision to preach Krishna consciousness in English language to the West, where would we all be? This morning, please don't take it personal. This morning, a handful of devotees went for book distribution and prasad distribution for a holy event, and 100% of the youth, adults, was enjoying Bollywood music and doing all sort of things. And I realized what will happen to them. They have no clue that time is ticking every minute. We are coming one step close to death. I please request you to give your blessings so that we can follow the path of bhakti chalked by you and your disciple Srila Prabhupada, your insignificant servant Madhavananda Das. Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj ki Jai. So now the program is, we'll stand up, we'll do this is a special prayer, Samsara Dava, which we do 4:30 every morning. But today being Gurus, so we glorify the Guru, we'll sing the prayer. Those who know this prayer, I'd like to go, for them to go back, and those who don't know, they come at the front so that they can read the prayers. It's just little difficult because you're doing it for first time, but we'll try. And then after the, do we do Pushpanjali before or after the? Before. So actually let's do the Pushpanjali first. So we'll do, some devotees can take some flowers and take flowers each, and then three times when Prabhu will sing the offering mantra, and then 3 times Esha Pushpanjali. So we do 1, 2, 3, and so like and then you pay your obeisance. So 3 times, please, like this: 1, 2, 3, once, 1, 2, 3, second, 1, 2, 3, third. So Esha Pushpanjali 3 times we'll do. We'll do the Pushpanjali. So someone please take the flowers, petals, and give it to everyone.